So, I've done a lot of posts about suits lately, and while I love suits and I'm good at suits, I want to talk about something else I'm very good at, which is my core competency, and that is the area of sales and selling. That is the market strategy which has predicated my firm's success, and that is what I am competent at. Nothing else, mostly, just that. And therefore, I want to talk about three types of prospects in business, which apply to not just our company, but all individuals and all companies. Three prospects that simply need to grow up. And anybody that has sold or is selling a product or service can relate to this. And if you relate to this on a personal level, time to grow up. Number one, the prospect that does not like salespeople or gets weirdly offended about receiving a sales call. If you don't like to receive sales calls, well, there are several communist countries where products and services are not sold in a competitive marketplace. And I'm pretty sure that you can immigrate to those countries fairly easily. There's not a lot of flow of people going in to those places. So if you want to defect to some version of the Soviet Union, those options are widely available. If you don't like or get offended by sales calls, it's basically you're a commie. Like, welcome to capitalism, where companies compete for your time, companies compete for your money, companies compete for your attention, and there are various channels they utilize to do that, marketing of various forms, sales being one of them. If you don't like it, grow up. Number two, this is a sales prospect that needs to grow up, is the one who doesn't let the expert be the expert. In my business, it's always, it's not a common one, but it comes up in everybody's business, where like the hypochondriac that goes to the doctor and then just doesn't believe the doctor, or has their own diseases they've Googled and they come with all these Google news. And if you're not an expert in that field, the thing is, you're probably not. Like, we're all an expert at like one thing, maybe two, but usually like one thing. I'll ask my service providers, lawyers, accountants some questions to understand better, but I'm not going to challenge their expertise because I didn't go to law school and invest 20 years of my life learning all the due processes and other things. And as a trained master clothier, if somebody is educating me or trying to educate me on the product, it's a little bit, patronizing, and it doesn't usually happen, but I've made a keynote not to act like an expert because I read an article online. And if that's you as a prospect, grow up. And number three is the kind of prospect that relies on personal promises and guarantees, which are beyond the control of the service provider. It doesn't make sense. Lawyers will often not tell you the outcome to expect, but they might say, hey, here's some reasonable expectations in order to manage emotions. And if you don't want your emotions to be reasonably managed as a prospect, you are in for disappointment. And for that reason, the prospect that expects unreasonable personal promises, which are outside of the control of the provider of that service or product, needs to grow up. So, if you want uncontrollable promises, or if you want to be an expert in a field where you're not an expert, or if you're just a commie, grow up. Cheers.